Well, the calendar says January, but the spring home buying season is starting to heat up. And with just a little time before everyone comes out of their shell and starts buying a home, let's talk about what you need to do today to be successful when buying a house in 2024. If you are new here, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Chris Spade at Keller Williams Realty, where I make all these videos to help you make sense of the real estate market. If you would do me a huge favor, please click that subscribe button. Also, click that little bell so you can be notified every single time we drop fresh new content, and please comment. I like to know what you think of what's happening in the market and what I've had to say. Now, here's a fun fact. According to the National Association of Realtors, 82% of home buyers found it much easier to buy a home when it was very well defined. So what does that mean? Well, when we sit down and we have a buyer consultation, we're going to talk about your must-haves in a property. For example, bedrooms, bathrooms count, square footage, how big do you want the house to be. We're also going to talk about any amenities, your distance and commute time to work. We're going to talk about any sort of preferences that you would like in the property. For example, are you looking for a single-family detached home, or are you looking for a condominium? All these things are going to be important, and it is much easier when you have it very well defined on what you're looking for. That's why when we do sit down and we do meet, whether it's on Zoom or in person, we're going to have this conversation to kind of help you narrow it down, because there's a lot of homes on the market and there will be a lot of homes coming on the market. So we want to make sure that A, we're showing you the properties you want to see, and B, that they fit their budget, so that way you're not overspending on a home. Now let's talk about your budget, because one of the things that we're going to want to do is make sure that we find a home that's going to fit your budget and not going to break the bank. The last thing you want to be is house poor. Now, according to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, you should spend no more than 30% of your total income on your housing costs. There are two ways that you can do this. Obviously, you just take your total income, multiply that by 30%, and then you figure out what that 30% number looks like, and that gives you a range and how much you want to spend monthly on your property. The next thing you want to do is get pre-approved for a mortgage by a qualified lender. Now, you want to get pre-approved and not pre-qualified. What is the difference? A pre-approval means that you have shown the lender your bank statements, your tax returns, and your W-2s. They are able to give you a number based on those items and tell you what you can afford. A pre-qualification is what most online lenders do. You just tell them exactly what you make, you give them a rough estimate, and then they spit back what you can potentially afford in a property. When you go to then get under contract, you have to go through the pre-approval process. The downside to a pre-qualification is if you've given that lender any erroneous information and the new information that you've given them doesn't match up with the information that you'd given them previously, you might not be able to afford the house that you went under contract with, and then the whole deal has to be canceled. So it's very important that you get pre-approved for a mortgage. And if you have any questions whatsoever about a pre-approval on a mortgage, feel free to reach out and I will give you a list of the qualified lenders that I work with that have helped my clients in the past that do a great job. The next thing you're going to want to do is research neighborhoods, because not everybody wants to live in every single neighborhood. Some buyers are just buying based on budget, and they will buy a home based on the budget, and they don't really care what neighborhood that they live in. But many people want to be in certain neighborhoods because of schools, or whether or not it's close to their house of worship, whatever it is for you, just make sure that you do research in the neighborhoods. Now, here's a fun fact. Zillow says the fluctuation in price can be up to 20% different per neighborhood, and I can attest to that. Obviously, if you're buying in Mission Hills, it's going to be a lot different if you're going to be buying in Bay Park. So those neighborhoods fluctuate, and they're very different even though they're very close to one another. So you want to do the research on your neighborhood. This is where you're going to do things like research schools, commute times to your work or your kid's school, or any amenities that the neighborhood offers. For example, if you love to play basketball and want to join in pickup games, you're going to probably want to be in a neighborhood that's close to some basketball courts that are going to, allow you to get into pickup games. If you like hiking, then perhaps you're going to want to go be close to Cowles Mountain, so that way you can just jaunt up the hill every weekend if you want to. The next thing you're going to want to do is be aware of market trends in San Diego and the micro market trends in the neighborhoods you want to live in. Now, I know this is where your family and friends are going to come into play because they are going to give you their opinion on what's happening in the market when they're not actually in the market. Now, when you are in the market, you're doing all the research on homes and you're working with someone like me, a professional, who is going to educate you on the market. However, family and friends can really put a roadblock in your way because they're not actually in the market. They themselves are not looking at homes. Now, I think that you should have family and friends looking out for you, but the challenge is the way we did business 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or when your parents bought their house 30 years ago is much different than what it is now. It's also very different when the contracts were written then versus now. So you want to be sure that you are staying up on the trends and what's happening in real estate, not only the prices and what's happening. By the way, we've seen a 16% increase year over year in San Diego County as a whole. So that means you're going to want to know what's happening in the neighborhood that you're in. Now, you're going to be getting some really unsettling advice from other people who are not in the market. Just take that advice, put it on the back burner, consult with your professional to see what's true and what's not, what's fact and what's myth, and then we'll go from there and help you make the best decision. So, for example, in San Diego, my colleague and I held this house over on Chinook open in Claremont. Now, we had it open for 2 days. We were only there 2 hours each day from 1 to 3. We probably had over 100 people through that open house. That means there's multiple buyers on that property. There were 25 offers that were on that property. Now, I don't know what the property actually went into escrow for since I wasn't the listing agent, but I do know of the 25 offers, one of them was mine and we wrote it well above list price. I do know that they got a cash offer that was significantly over the price that we offered, and they had a conventional offer significantly over the cash price, and we wrote significantly over it as well. So that means that prices are coming back to that 2020 and 2021 level where everything is just getting nuts in the market. So you have to be prepared to make fair, reasonable offers the first time. This is not the market where you go and decide, hey, I think I want to offer 20% below list price. Not the market. We're not there anymore. That was the market that we just came out of. It's not today's current market. In fact, today's current market is you're going to have to offer over list price, and you're going to have to put your best foot forward on the first time and be prepared to get a counter offer and possibly increase your offer. Let's talk about the importance of a good real estate agent and a professional like myself. According to the National Association of Realtors, 88% of buyers last year purchased their home through a real estate agent because they were looking for that professional advice. It's very important to work with a professional, somebody with a little bit of experience under their belt. It doesn't mean that someone who hasn't been in the business for a year or two can't give you that very good experience. I myself have been doing this for 17 years. I had mentors in the very beginning that were helping me out. So if you are working with a new real estate agent, make sure that they have a good mentor on their side to help make sure that you are getting the best possible deal. Now, what can a professional real estate agent do for you? Well, we make recommendations to things like mortgage lenders, which is very important because you want to work with somebody who knows what they're doing and make sure that they are exhausting all possibilities to help you save the most money when it comes to making your mortgage payment. The next thing that we do is also make recommendations to home inspectors, any builders or plumbers or any tradespeople that you're going to need in your home adventure that you're taking on, and whether or not you're needing to make any repairs or if we need to get any estimates for the request for repairs. We're also going to be looking at all your escrow paperwork and disclosures, looking for any sort of red flags to make sure that you are not making a bad purchase. Remember, a good real estate agent is going to read everything. The only thing we can't read is the HOA documents, but there's a list of questions that I give you when you are about to make the purchase of a condo, and there are 4 very important questions that you need to ask your HOA that you're going to be buying into. So we'll give you a list of those questions when you're ready to make that purchase. Let's talk about the home inspection and appraisal. So home inspections are extremely important, and there are some people that I've had that have wanted to skip the home inspection altogether and they've regretted it down the road. There's also inspectors who have recommended further inspection on properties that my clients have decided that they were going to forego because it was going to cost them an extra $200 to $300, and that has cost them and bit them in the butt royally. Let's talk about that. Now, a home inspection is extremely important for a couple of reasons. One, a home inspector, a good home inspector, is going to give you a thorough investigation of the home, and they're going to be able to point out any abnormalities in the home that you might want to get fixed prior to the close of escrow. They're also going to give you a bigger picture of the bigger ticket items that could end up costing more. For example, the roof or the foundation. So you really want someone on your side to do a thorough inspection of the property. So please, whatever you do, don't skip the home inspection. A good home inspector is probably going to charge you about $600. That's pretty reasonable to get a very good home inspection. If you're paying less than that, I would turn around and run. That's just my opinion personally. I would definitely do a thorough job inspecting the home. Now, if the home inspector says you need further investigations on whatever, I highly recommend you do those further investigations. And the reason for that is because the home inspectors don't have all the tools and equipment to do some of the things that are necessary to make sure that you're making a good purchase. Let me give you an example. A home inspector is going to look at your chimney and they can kind of get into the chimney and look up, but they can't give you a thorough picture from the top down. So you're going to want to get a professional chimney sweep or a chimney repair person to come in and take a look at that to make sure that this is not going to cause any fire or damage if after you buy the home you decide that you're going to want to have a nice fire around Christmas time in the property. The other big inspection that I always tell people to do, some people do it, some people don't, and if you don't do it, I promise you it usually ends up biting you straight in the butt. And that is your sewer scope inspection. If you do not do a sewer scope inspection and then something happens with your mainline sewer to the street, it's going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars, probably upwards of about $20,000. If you're purchasing in an HOA, meaning you're purchasing a condominium, not if you're purchasing a detached property in a condo complex, but if you're actually a stacked condo, you don't have to worry about that. But any property that is detached, you are responsible for the sewer line from the house to the main sewer line. So if something happens, you have to tear up the street and you have to get permits from the city to do that. So make sure if you're buying a single family detached home that you're always getting a home inspection on the property. That is extremely important. Now, appraisals, you can't get away with not getting an appraisal on your property because the lender is going to require it as part of your loan, and they're going to have to sign off on it to say yes, the appraisal's done, and yes, the appraisal looks good, and yes, we agree with the appraiser that the value of the property is what the contract price says. Now, an appraiser is a third-party independent evaluator that goes out and says, you know what, I believe the property's value to be X, and you want the property to appraise at contract price or higher. Now, we don't have to tell anybody what the property appraises for. Unless it appraises for lower, then we're going to try to get the price reduced. But if the property appraises at contract price or above, we're not going to let them know, especially if it appraises at above, because then you're walking into equity the minute that you close escrow. The next thing you're going to want to do is consider future resale value. When you're thinking of making improvements to your home, you're going to want to do things that a future buyer may want to have. Now, if you are extremely artistic and you want to do an entire mosaic on your bathroom counter, that is absolutely fine. But when you go to sell that property in the future, there are going to be very few buyers who are going to walk into that and say, oh, I like that, I'm going to buy it. But if you do something neutral, sleek, that is not boring, but is going to enhance the property and make future buyers want to purchase it, that is what you're going to want to do. If you want to put the mosaic bathroom counter on, by all means do that, but you might want to consider changing it before you put your home back on the market. The average home buyer stays in their home between 5 and 7 years before they go and resell it, so you do have time to do that. But just know that if you are going to make improvements to your property that aren't going to be pleasing to the average buyer, your home down the road may take time to sell. Let's talk about the closing process. Now, when we write an offer, we can close deals in as quick as 14 or 15 days, and we can close them in as long as 30 or 45 days. It just depends on what both buyer and seller want, because everybody has to agree to that. But let's assume that we do a 30-day closing, which is very standard, but if you want to do it faster, you can do that as well. Now, as you are going through the closing process, there are a few important things that you're going to need to remember. In the contract, per the state of California, and this is all negotiable, we have 17 days to do all our inspections, 17 days to read the disclosures, 17 days to get your loan approved, 17 days to read the title report, 17 days to get the appraisal back, and we've got to get all that done in that time frame. Now that is negotiable, so any of those times can be cut. So you can cut those down if you choose to, or if you're in a multiple counteroffer situation, the listing agent can cut those down as well. So you just need to be aware of that. They can also cut the time of closing down if they want to. So let's say you wrote an offer for 30 days, then they want to do it in 21 days, and you really want the house, you agree to it. So there's a lot of that takes place. So all those time frames are negotiable, just remember that. But as you're going through the process, we're going to be getting your inspections done, your appraisals done. We're going to be negotiating the request for repairs. Once we've come to an agreement on all that, we're going to be releasing our full contingencies. And I'll do another video on the entire process of actually buying a house. This will be a completely separate video, so stay tuned for that. But what we'll do is, once we get through all of that, then towards the end of the closing, when you're getting ready to actually close the transaction, just a couple days before that, what's going to happen is you're going to get a call from the escrow company to sign your loan documents. You're going to meet with the mobile notary. They're going to meet with you, and then you're going to sign all your loan documents. They're going to give you an estimated closing statement with what you need to bring to the closing table to close your deal. On the closing day, on the actual closing day, the escrow company is going to review the loan documents to make sure everything was signed properly. They are then going to send the deed down to the recorder's office, send the loan documents back to the lender for a final review. Then the funder and the escrow officer are going to get together and powwow, and they're going to fund your loan. Once your loan is funded, then the San Diego County Recorder is going to record your deed. Once the deed is recorded, the house is yours. Remember when I said it's really important to have a good real estate agent on your side? Good real estate agents are good negotiators. One of the things that we're going to do is make sure not only we negotiate a good price for you, but that we create a win-win transaction. So we're going to want to make sure that not only are you paying the best price possible for this home, but if there's any reduction in price that we need, that you're going to get it, and both parties are going to be happy with the transaction. Remember, we create win-win transactions. And then also we're going to make sure that if we need to negotiate any repair requests, that those are done, and those are done fairly. Let's talk briefly about the home warranty, because home warranties are important. Now, a home warranty is a little insurance policy that gives you 1 year in case anything in your home breaks. And pretty much everything is covered in a home warranty, but you do have to read the fine print. I have my favorites. The one I use the most is Old Republic. I've been using it the longest time. No real home warranty company is the best. I know some of them say they're the best. They're whatever. They're just whatever, okay? But a home warranty is very important. It costs the seller about $700 to give it to you. If they don't, then we typically cover the cost for that for you, because it's just a little insurance policy that says if the stove goes out, then they're gonna send a repair person out. You'll have to pay a $75 fee. If they can fix it, then they'll fix it. If they can't, then they replace it like for like. So it's a very good policy. And if you wanna renew it in year 2, then you can do that on your own, and the home warranty company gives you a little notice, so that way you can write a check to them, so that way you can still have the home warranty after the first year it expires. You want to work with a qualified lender so you can go over all your financing options. So are you going to do an FHA or VA loan? Do you want to do conventional? Are you putting down 3, 5, 10%? 15%, 20%. Are there any programs in the neighborhood that you're moving into that'll give you some grant money? So it's really important that you know all these things, which is why you want to start with working and talking with a great real estate agent like myself, because in that way we can point you towards the lender that's going to help you and give you the most options on how to purchase the property, and if there's anything that you can qualify for to get some free money, some grant money, some deferred money. There's all different kinds of options out there, and you want to exhaust all of them if you can. All right, this is it. We're going to round it out. Last one. You want to stay patient and you want to stay flexible. According to the National Association of Realtors, in this market, home buyers are taking an average of 10 weeks to find their home before they go under contract. So just remember, we can find it in one weekend like I did with one of my clients just recently, or it can take up to 10 weeks. So you have to be a little bit patient. Remember, in this market, we're starting to creep back into that 2021 market where it's just extremely crazy and we're seeing 30, 40, 50 people walk into open houses. So if you have any questions about buying a home in 2024, feel free to reach out to me. I would love to be your real estate resource of choice. You can contact me. My phone number and my email are below. Also, there's a link to my calendar. You can book an appointment there. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.